Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ryan Eastman coming to you live from Explore Stadium. Joining me in the booth tonight as my co-host is Christopher Whalen. How you doing, Christopher?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you tonight?
Doing excellent. We're here today to watch the Albany Alphas on the road against the Huntsville Mares, a team that you're very familiar with, Christopher.
Oh yes, absolutely. For those of you who don't know, I got my start in the furry sports uh, media by covering local Albany games, and have they've always had a kind of a soft place in my heart.
Yes, and tonight the runners-up of last year battling against the Huntsville Mares. Bit of a different roster for the Albany Alphas here tonight from where they were last year, obviously with Narcissa Cassius retiring. We'll have to see how they perform tonight. Whereas the Huntsville Mares, without their long-term veteran, they also lost a player with Wendy Brown moving on to a different team. They brought in Neo Snyman to take over the point guard role. Both teams trying to battle for contention in a pretty tight East here.
Yeah, I think this is certainly Albany is no stranger to either losing their star players to other teams or having them retire. So they're kind of used to being in this situation. It's a little different for Huntsville. They've been such a legacy team over the last 4 or 5 years that it's good to see some fresh blood coming into the starting lineup.
And speaking of, I think I see the players heading down to the court to get ready for tip-off. And the tip-off will go the way of the Albany Alphas. And you talk about new blood. The starting lineup for the Alphas is fairly young. I mean, Cassius Watterson, we saw him really step up in the finals last year. And let's see, I believe his contract actually expires at the end of this season.
Yeah, what a great pickup for Albany. Was Came in as a bench player. They really developed him, tapped into some talent that they probably weren't even aware of. And Cassius has been such a great asset to the team.
And they're also rolling with their rookie tonight. Well, one of the brothers, Lorenz. I'm going to probably ruin his name multiple times, but Valerio is in the starting lineup. Kind of worked his way up from the bench earlier this year.
Yeah, I think this is, especially here in mid-season, these games are a good way for both of these teams to sort of experiment a little bit with their lineup, see maybe kind of try some different experiments with combinations that they hadn't considered earlier on in the year. With only 4 wins separating these two teams, it's interesting because Huntsville is much closer to the top of the pack than Albany is, but I think both teams are pretty evenly matched here.
I would say so. I think one area that we'll have to see how Albany handles is in the Bigford depth. Big alley-oop there to Okayu. Ogun laying it down with a slam dunk. And that's going to be, I think, the area that Albany might struggle a little bit. They picked up a rookie, really DeMoran, in obviously the draft. However, they lost Oscar Johansson, who played a big factor coming off the bench last year in their finals run. So the Bigford depth is a little questionable for Albany, whereas you look at Huntsville, and they have a bit more they can go with there with CC, Ogun, Rashid Alamin, and Daniel Osgood, their rookie. So, they have a bit more leeway with how they run the floor in the post.
Yes, and they have Ekazi if they really need to rely on someone else there too. Huntsville picking up both the Okayus. It was last year, I think. Really changed the dynamic for the better for Huntsville. Adding some more veteran players to their roster really kind of shored up some of their defects last year, and we've really kind of seen their team starting to gel again this year.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, Ogun down in the post, a massive threat to the Rhino. But picking up his sister, Hermione, a big addition on the bench. And honestly, she's one of the players I have my eye on as a 6th for of the year candidate by the end of the year. Now, we have to talk about Albany, though. They brought in a player, as we see Okayu down low in the post, bringing up the lead 8-2. Albany picked up a player, came out of retirement, Akiak Pratt, returning to Albany. I believe he was drafted by them to start his career, and then he ended up going off to Lorraine for a little bit before stepping away from the FBA, but unretired this offseason and came back.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing more and more of that here in the FBA. As technology gets better and as sports medicine gets better, you see these players are playing longer, and you've got some retired players who, after a year or two, either for life reasons or personal reasons, who may have stepped away from the league, are still finding that they can still compete with the best of them.
Oh yeah, it can be a bit of a challenge. We see multiple offensive rebounds, and CC will come away with the final opportunity, the bucket. Players having to step away from the game, whether for their physical, mental, or life situation, but able to recondition and get back into the league. And the teams have been willing to take the chances. We see a number of players come back, and they haven't had any issues finding an opportunity. Crosby Sutters, for example, working his way over to Montana now after coming back. I believe he played for Baltimore in his initial return.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, where a decade ago you might have all these up and coming rookies and sophomores who might fill in those slots. Now you've got these players who are staying longer, and you've got really good players coming off the bench.
Oh yeah, you have to be very mindful of the 6th first situations. I mean, you look at teams like Plymouth, as we see a missed 3 opportunity from Albany. They've worked their way back up to 9, down by 1. But speaking of like Plymouth, Yasina Celis, they have a long time 6th for that many people thought would eventually be a starter, but the level of talent has just been so high on some teams that keeping her around as a 6th for has been the best situation for them. But then you wonder, okay, well, what about these teams that are struggling? What happens when these players enter free agency? Are they going to leave?
Well, and then I think you see some of these second string players on other teams are saying, I'm better than some of these starters at some of these other teams. Maybe I can get my agent to push for a contract pickup after either my draft contract is over, or you've got a lot of these players in 2 or 3 year contracts after their first contracts, looking at 5 or 6 years in the league, who really want a place where they can really shine, and they're not getting that chance here with all the veterans sort of blockading in some of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have some players retired, like Narcissa opening a spot on Albany, but it would be very difficult to unseed someone like that, especially even if her performance had started to slip a little bit. The legacy of the player almost gives them more leeway. You have to consider the chemistry of the team itself. I mean, obviously how the players impact other players' performance. And I think that's kind of why we saw Wendy Brown stay so long in Huntsville, that it took a while before they could really say, okay, we are ready to move on from you, even though she's had a few big performances coming off the bench with her new team.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a timeout here from Albany, first of the game. I thought Albany was kind of struggling to get on the board, but Huntsville's defense, for the most part, is actually, we mentioned a little earlier, it's actually really solid tonight.
Yeah, and then they're going to have to battle against the Swan. I mean, she's coming into her 2nd year here, and she's definitely grown as a defensive player, and we'll have to keep an eye on how she goes into free agency. That position's always in high demand. Obviously, they've locked down Okayu for long term. And Kivar is just not necessarily, he's got the speed. I just don't think he has the kind of reach he needs to get around the Swan, and he needs to utilize his other teammates to get some good screens going to get open. Because the Jaguar can get a good break to the post if he can just get the first step unimpeded.
Absolutely, and as we're talking about legacy players here, Kivar is absolutely a prime example of that. Um, been with Albany, I want to say, uh, a decade
Yeah, I mean, he's been here since
probably,
the championship.
um, and well before that. I'm being told was drafted by the Albany Alphas in 2013. So. Uh, Very rare to see anyone stay with a club for that long, but he's been great for Albany. He's kind of been a, a rock here for the team in in a constantly changing roster.
Okay, as we see Cloverfield blocked there down on the post, and Rutherfield going for a quick three in transition is good. The second-year player. Quick pass to him, able to get it done from beyond the arc. Huntsville up by 8 here. Top of the post, backing down. Shot clock starting to become a problem. They're going to dish over to Cloverfield. Back to Avery. Just got to throw a shot up with the clock winding down, no good. And that was Okayu with the defense. Tamika. Dishing down low to Alamin, but blocked there in the post. Gets his bone missed back and able to convert it. To PC. Go ahead.
That stat we just saw there, Albany's only gotten 5 rebounds so far versus Huntsville's 13. I think that's already telling kind of why we're seeing the score that we're seeing. Albany really needs to start picking up their game and getting some of those second chance points here.
Well, yeah, and denying Huntsville the chance. I mean, at least 4 of those were offensive rebounds, 3 of which I think happened on the same play. Like I said, they can't. They need to box out. And I think that's where they're gonna have to put a lot of the burden on Watterson, as we see Tapisa. Whew, I'm gonna really struggle tonight. Able to get that ball pulled down. The polar bear. On the other end, it's gonna be Cloverfield, able to get the underneath basket to fall. And ooh, a foul called again. Speaking of the rabbit, getting called for the blocking foul there, as we'll see the rest of the starters get a bit of a break here. Jetson, ooh, nice give and go. Defense absolutely melted to that. She just dished the ball over to the Rhino, and as soon as the defense started to cheat over, she found an easy lane to the basket there. Down by 10 now. Albany needs to answer back. I'm going to give it to Jackie. On the perimeter. Ends up just taking an isolation herself and not able to convert. But oh no, the ball knocked out of bounds by the Mayors. Will remain with Albany. So, Christopher, you've covered Albany for quite a while. Where would you rank this starting lineup compared to the past couple years?
You know, I got to be honest. I still sort of see this lineup as being a bit more transitional than some of the other years past. Obviously, the Albany's best year in the last decade or so was their championship run, and I think they've been chasing that ever since. I really do think that when you compare the last maybe 4 or 5 years to where, where they've been before, Albany is sort of relying on their reputation more than their players, and I think the players on the team are starting to realize that they have to really work to get this year going, particularly.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, obviously, you think back to that championship roster. I mean, Umechi, still in the league, but a massive part of the team that run. And then, obviously, their point guard. I feel like they've kind of chased a point guard ever since, and they brought in Yona Vastenhoop, but even here tonight we see he's not starting. So I think there's some questions for them long term if they're going to continue with him at that position. I definitely feel like they've now locked down a good future with their big, with Watterson, if they can lock him into a longer-term deal. And obviously Terry O'Toole, reigning MVP, is locked down for a few more years. Actually, I should say one more year after this year. It's Kivar they've got locked down for another 2.
Yeah, and if you ask me, I really honestly would have said that Albany had their best chance at another championship run last year. This year, it's going to be a little bit of I hate to say it, a little bit of sloppy seconds as they, they're scrappy enough that they could probably get through to the playoffs. But right now, they're looking a little disorganized. If only for the fact that anytime you lose a franchise player, finding how to fill in that hole is difficult. I think that's where Huntsville really excels this year, in that they really again, they've retained some of basically their whole roster from last year, with a couple of new additions, and I think the Mayors are a much more cohesive team this year than the Alphas are.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the loss of the veteran presence in Winnie Grounds. We see the Albany defense does pick it up there with a block back. Quick transition to Fitch Loomis. We saw him step up in the playoffs, and he hits a 3 there, pulling Albany back within single digits. I was going to say obviously losing the veteran Wendy Brown is more of a locker room effect. She might kill me for saying that, but I mean, her impact in the locker room was where she was providing a lot of her benefits of a veteran. But they brought in Neo Snyman, a player who, coming in off the bench of Albany or of Dakota, has an opportunity to start now, and he is a talent that still has room to grow. So Huntsville is scary in the sense that as he gets more comfortable and develops as a player, they could really make a dangerous run. Obviously, like I said, they brought in the Cayuse to really solidify their roster. This is arguably their best chance at a run in recent years.
Oh, for sure. And then of course they have some really great support. Travis Buckner, famous name in the league, can kind of step in a little bit to play support in the locker room, kind of where Wendy was going. But I think also, like, don't discount Ogun for doing the same thing. The Rhino's got a lot of years under his belt. He's got a lot of practice, and really was sort of the rally point around Alaska for many years. I've seen him sort of starting to do the same thing here in Huntsville.
Albany, active pause is what's been the name of the game this quarter. As we've seen a number of balls get tipped out of the possession of Huntsville. A couple have gone the way of Albany, as we saw there, one rolling out of bounds. It will stay with Huntsville, but they were down by, I believe, 13 at one point, but now back within 5. So defense stepping up for Albany now. Shot clock becoming a problem. They're going to give it to Rutterfield from beyond the arc. A little too much power from the Otter. Now Albany has a chance to continue this cut into the deficits. I believe that is Avery. No, sorry, that was Jackie. Spinning up and tossing it up in the air. 6 points for her so far. Huntsville no good on the answer back. They could tie it up here, Christopher, with a 3. They're going to give it to Lemon. The hot paw. Not so much from behind the arc, though. That's Fitch on the floor right now. They're going to let Lemon drive to the basket, though, off the screen. But no, Rutterfield, battle for the ball, and the shot clock violation will come in.
So you mentioned taking a 3 in that situation. I think in years past, Albany did have a couple of 3-point playmakers. I think they're much more of an inside team now. They don't really have anyone to make those, sniping baskets in a situation like this. You could argue maybe Fitch Loomis.
Well, off the bench for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I gotta say, you can't forget Terry O'Toole's historic comeback in the finals last year, where I think he put up like 12 points in a minute from beyond the arc. The big dog can bully his way in the post, but is able to get it done from beyond the arc. I think that's partly why they brought in Akiak Prak. You know, his shooting ability is definitely from mid-range and three-point. He's not as much of a sharpshooter as Narkissa was, though.
No, but I think they might develop that. The good thing about bringing Akiak back in is that, you know, Albany's playbook hasn't really changed all that much since last time Pratt was on the team. So having someone who kind of already knows the playbook, who's able to kind of slot right in where they need someone. I think that's where Pratt's real strength is. But you end up, you know, the team is lacking someone to make those shots, and you can see even right here, even as he takes a 3-point, you know, those have to go in.
Yeah, but you saw it was a design play specifically for him or Terry. Wide open three, top of the arc. I said it's a bit of the shaking off the rust along with dialing it in as we see Terry there getting one from beyond the arc. And there's the run. We've had Albany 14-4 in the last, since the quarter started, basically. CC, the Swan driving to the post, taking flight and able to get it in over Kivar. To see how the rookie slots into this lineup. We obviously know Cassius and Kivar deadly in the post, and Akiak and Terry trying to get something going from beyond the arc, but where does he fit in? It's Pratt shooting from the free throw line. Easy peasy for the Husky. Maybe showing off a little bit of Meichi vibes there. It's going to be Fash, though, on the other end, trying to force it in. Got a little bit of a look there, but not able to convert. And Terry, in transition for the three, is good. And Albany takes the lead for the first time since they may have had one very early, but it's been a while.
Yeah, no, I think this is the first in the quarter, or half, excuse me.
Oh, and there's a charging foul call. That's usually... That's a little unusual to see, but we're going to see the ball turned over. Albany a chance to extend this lead they've managed to secure. They're going to give it to Pratt from beyond the arc, and there they are, heating up from beyond the arc now. Back-to-back threes for Albany. And Huntsville's going to let Fash be the one to run the play. She's definitely stepped up as their offensive threat. Ooh, behind the back pass. Buckner fouled on the way out. That's Terry's second. The Koala will head to the line for two.
And of course, Buckner makes the first.
I wasn't going to say anything. Marcus tends to jinx them whenever they go to the line.
Well, I'm not Marcus.
Apparently not. Made both of them. It's old habit.
Few players more reliable at the. Few players more reliable than Buckner at the free throw line.
Ooh, you're putting a lot of pressure on him here by saying that. We'll have to see the game if you just jinxed him or not. Clock starting to wind down. It's going to be Kivar fading away from the post. No good. A tough shot there.
I think Buckner, another player who's been in the league since 2013, unlike Kivar, has been a couple different places. I think people, even though they started with the Lone Stars, I think people really kind of associate Buckner with the classic Taproots.
Yeah, and it has to be a bit of a, I don't want to say a shock to him, but disappointment that they won the ring after he left.
Oh, I would be absolutely pissed if I were him.
I mean, he has his his All-Star appearances from 15-16 with the Taproots, but then he went to Tallahassee for a few years and missed an opportunity to win with the Taproots. Sorry, he went to the Typhoons after the Taproots for a few years. So this is his 4th team now he's found himself on. See, Vash trying to equal back, but forcing it there, no good. And Pratt, again, wanting to get done fast in transition before the defense has a chance to get set. Not able to convert. And I guess that's an interesting fact for Huntsville. None of these players have been on... Take that back. I think Kyle's been around longer. Most of these players were not on the team going back to even 2020. This is a pretty new roster.
It is, which is fascinating to me because it is a new roster, but they're kind of veterans from all over, as I mentioned before. So to see sort of this group really gel in the last couple of years has been really rewarding. There's a lot of potential there, and I think we are seeing it kind of come back into all of that potential really starting to become actual chemistry.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only player that has been around a long time is Kyle McLeod, sorry, was on the team in 2017. Shoo, not 2007. He hasn't been here that long. 2014 draftee, landed on Huntsville in 2017. But more of just a presence in the locker room versus a major contributor on the team. As we see Akiak hitting the mid-ranger from 15 feet.
Albany trying to secure their lead a little bit more here, up by 4.
And time. Oh, Tamika! The
Tamika's
reverse
not
dunk.
Today.
Yeah, the Panther elevating there with the alley-oop. And, I mean, if you have an open lane to the basket, get it done. We see the polar bear backing down. Rattling out, though. It's going to be Rashid coming away with the ball. Sorry. Yeah, Rashid. Trying to get done on the other end, not able to.
Both teams here really have to tighten up their offense a little bit. They're both doing pretty well on defense. Now that Albany has sort of come back to take the lead, Huntsville defense, that's a thing.
Well, they've also been relying heavily on Fash to try and get things done. It's just not working. I mean, she's trying to force it, and she's getting looks at the basket, but you have to wonder if maybe she needs to start dishing it out to CC and Okayu back in the post. Let them open up the lanes for her. Cloverfield blocked by Kesey. It's going to be Maria Kincaid the other way. Getting an open lane to the basket, off the glass, no good.
And it's plays like that I'm talking about on both sides. You've got an open lane, got an open basket, and then it seems like people just kind of throwing the ball away here a little bit. Take that extra 30, half a second to line up that shot. I know there's some pressure from the other team, but again, I think this is the 4th missed basket we've seen in a row now.
And active pause nearly caused a steal there, but it's going to get called against the second-year player, Tanner Hunt. Spot Hino with his first foul. Inbound to the rookie. Over to Rutherfield. Caillou. And I think that's a roster that we'll probably see more of as the season goes on, is Okayu starting to get slotted in more to kind of add to the three-point threat of her and Fash. As Maria getting a shot to fall, fading away from beyond the free throw line. But there's a quick dish into the post for Avery. Elevating for the dunk.
thing about Albany is that once they have a lead, they really try not to give it up. I mean, I guess that could be said for any team. But Albany really does like to claw into these 2 or 4 point uh, victories.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned in the as we see a half court heave, not able to fall. Albany in the finals last year, they could never be counted as dead because of how explosive their offense could be. And it really, I think, was the defense in the end that just let them down against Winnipeg. And because they tried to outscore them, essentially. And I mean, that's obviously the name of the game is you need to outscore your opponent. But if you can choke them with the defense, that makes the lead so much harder to come back from. And we're seeing that here tonight. And I feel like that's kind of what they were trying to address last year when they drafted Tanner Hunt, the big hyena, able to put up a big body and be a bit more defensive. It's just now a question of getting him and Watterson that much more talent development so they can develop into those big defensive anchors.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Albany only has 2 centers here, but if you look at their sort of like their forward depth a little bit, you've got some really big forwards on the team here. I'll let you go through the stats and we can keep going after that.
Oh no, it's we can let the fans just watch from home. I mean, it's a fairly even split. That's the thing. Huntsville right now has really spread the ball well. The only kind of question is that Fash has really been forcing the ball here tonight. Everyone else has been shooting pretty consistently, and all of them, like you mentioned, the rebounds. Everyone pulling down rebounds for Huntsville. Even though Hermione off the bench, she has 4 rebounds with her 6 points.
I really think that's what's keeping Huntsville in this game right now is that they're you know, I'd love to get one of our interns to check out to see what the height differential is on these two teams, but I get the feeling that Huntsville has a couple of extra inches over Albany at the moment.
Yeah, I think the big disparity might be at that power forward position. Obviously, Kivar at 6'10" going up against the 7'2" Swan. It's not just the height, but the wingspan, part of my terminology, having the advantage there. And I mean, you definitely talked about some big bodies at the forward position for Albany. Tapisa at 6'11" and Tanner at 6'8". But then you look at the other side, you know, Daniel Osgood, Michael Akizi, and Rashid Amin. Rashid is 6'10", so, you know, that's pretty comparable to Albany. But then you got the 7'6" Osgood. And then you have the 7'4" Akizi. You know, Watterson really has to carry the load then for Albany. And that might be a place Huntsville attacks. If they can start getting the Otter in foul trouble, you know, that starts to bring up some questions.
Absolutely.
And then, no, Ruley, the rookie, the chicken is 7'5" as well. So that's not to say that there is no height on Albany. It's just they only have one backup center for the most part. You see Fash with the beyond the arc shot, no good. A chance to take the lead back, unable to convert it though. Now it's the rookie teaming up with O'Toole in transition, but they decide to slow it down, and they're going to give it to Pratt, who took a... Those are the kind of shots you want to see. You know, he got close to the basket, but more importantly, you saw Kivar had already positioned himself between the basket and the defender. He was ready for an offensive rebound if he missed, but Fash going to slip out of bounds there. She's going to motion to the side, telling them they need to wipe the sweat down. She's, I think, kind of blaming that she slipped there. It's right there near the bench, too, so players coming in and off the floor. Pratt up to Kivar, back to Pratt. A little give and go, and it works. Husky with the quick step past the defender there. They're really exploiting Neo's first year as a starter. Akiak with a bit more experience than him, and he's going to be all the way on the left side for beyond the arc. No good. Chris, we have to say the momentum really starting to feel like it's swung the way of Albany here. And as I say that, though, foul on the shot attempt. And one opportunity.
Well, here's where Albany sort of slacks a little bit, especially coming off of the halftime. Traditionally, they start to get a little cocky. They start to take riskier plays, and I do think we're going to see Huntsville kind of pull ahead for at least a little bit here. I say that, of course, as Albany is scoring, but
Well, that came off of a good Watterson rebound. Akiak trying to take the shot that you just missed, and a little bit of a force there. And Fash with a great spin move and the double clutch. Big block was coming in, but she pulled it back down and put it back up. And right there you see her and Pratt battling for the point total. Pratt with 15, her with 11. And a strip by Snyman, wide open, no one around, all alone. The Meerkat able to just lay it up and in, not going to go for the dunk. No need to risk missing it. And Pratt gets a double screen, going to answer back with one of his own, a little finger roll on his way to the basket. Pratt definitely stepping up here. Knight and Fast trying to do the same for Huntsville now. Talked about offense slowing down a little bit in the second quarter, but it's picked up here to start the third. Which means both teams will need to make some kind of defensive adjustment. And Akiak a little bit forced there, was still moving when he tried to take that three off the screen. And Fash going to elevate for the dunk to take the lead back from Albany. And Christopher, I need you to also tell me the lottery ticket numbers, please. I'm serious. I need to know those lottery ticket numbers.
If I'd been playing the lottery as long as I've been watching a couple of these teams, maybe.
Well, Fash gonna bring the ball up after Akiak taking the lead back with a three, and I think we see both teams getting ready to make some substitutions for their starters. As the pace has really picked up tempo-wise, it's a tie game here, and it's really been Fash and Akiak right now. Ball stripped by Snyman. That's his second steal now. And, I mean, you have to think that's a bit of a challenge coming into this team. Obviously, being given the starting role to replace Wendy Brown. But not only that, you're having to establish yourself in a lineup with, a star player like Lauren Fash, Travis Buckner. And we kind of see Lauren take more opportunities to bring the ball up the court, kind of leading the offense. And, Snyman's going to have to step up into that role at some point. Tie game 6-6, 6-6.
A little bit of a nail biter here.
Like I said, the back and forth nature, it's going to be who blinks first, whose defense can step up, or whose offense starts to crumble. And it's going to be Terry. The turnaround jumper, a few more seconds on the shot clock. I feel like he could have maybe taken a step a bit towards the basket. Forced it a little bit. And now Huntsville, another opportunity. Just going to let Okayu take advantage of that mismatch in the post against Pratt. With a little bit of a hook shot there. Over to Terry. Back to Akiak. They've been loving this give and go play, but not able to convert it there. It's going to be CC putting it up for Huntsville. 4-point lead now for the Mares. Over to the rookie. Losing the ball. Battle for the ball at the side. And it's going to be the rookie stepping out of bounds. The ball will go to the Mares now.
I feel like we're seeing kind of a repeat of the first half here. Huntsville pulling away here in the beginning as Albany tries to figure out what happened to their momentum.
Yeah, I jinxed them a little bit, saying it seemed like Albany's was taking a hold of the momentum, even though we do see Watterson answering back there. Albany got back in this game because of a pretty big run, and now it's been up to Huntsville to chip away at it. It's going to come down to the long term. Who is more consistent? Lauren, absolutely wide open. The defense was a little slow on their switch there, and she just laid it right up.
So I do have some numbers back from our interns. As a whole, Huntsville is on average 1 inch taller than Albany.
Okay, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad, but that inch makes all the difference, and that's not taking into consideration starters versus roster. That's just across the board here.
About to say, I mean, I would say, what's the stats on Plymouth and Plymouth, Winnipeg, and Seattle with their bigs? Probably skewing the average just a little bit.
Right.
I mean, heaven forbid if Leon, DQ, and Jake were all on the same team at any point.
They'd have to refinish the floor after every game.
So we see Huntsville up by 2. Albany able to convert their free chance opportunities, and Avery getting the rebound. That's the big thing I have noticed, is that neither team is really getting offensive boards now, which means their defensive boxing out is working. And if Huntsville can start getting some of those second chance opportunities again, they could easily pull away here. And it's going to be Albany with the steal. Watterson, quick dish to Lemon. She's wide open. She's going to elevate for the dunk. Might be confused to think the Big Otter's a little clumsy, but he's got very agile paws, able to strip the ball there. And Rutherfield from beyond the arc, keeping momentum. They do not want to step off the gas at all here.
And, you know, that may be actually a good opportunity for Huntsville to start taking those longer shots, take some threes. If we're going back and forth, basket by basket, a good way for them to creep up ahead is, we've seen Albany keeps missing those shots from downtown. If Huntsville can continue to do that, then they're going to pull ahead with the lead.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of how long can he keep those threes going. I mean, Lauren and Rutherfield have been big from beyond the arc, but I feel like you need to have a third player, and that's where Okayu can step in. She's able to hit that long ball. No, they've cleared the paint for her to drive to the basket, not able to convert. Avery going to pull down the board. Cloverfield going to go for the teardrop. No good. Foul called. We'll go to the line for 2. No good on the first.
Got to make those. Giving away free points.
And no good on the second. Ooh. Tough there. I feel like that was one of the things in the finals we saw was missed free throw opportunities coming back to bite them. This isn't college ball. You really are expected to be able to hit at least 80% of your free throws. It's Hermione trying to get a 3 going, but rattles out. Missed opportunity there. It could have been a big momentum swing with a 3 at that moment after 2 missed free throws. Down to Ishijima. Takaru dancing around, avoiding the contact. That would have been a foul called had he knocked her over. But you see there, field goal percentage-wise is fairly even between the two. And as we see, the game is tied up. The turnovers have really been fairly equal between the two.
Both teams looking for just anything to give them that edge at this point.
Caillou steps into the paint, able to get it first back and forth. I want to see the stat about how many lead changes there have been, but I feel like every minute we see another dozen come in. Dishing over to Avery. Get a call for the screen. Trying to set up a lane to the basket, but not good. But no, they're going to use the size mismatch, the speed mismatch, I should say. Kesey, though, able to put up a paw and affect the path to the basket. Ooh, a foul, and somehow able to make the basket being knocked to the ground. The Rhino heading to the line for an and one, and she couldn't make the 3 earlier, but she makes one there. And we see Loomis coming in for Albany. I think they're trying to add a little bit of three-point range to their rotation right now. Alleman.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, these both teams are pretty evenly matched tonight. But I mean, traditionally they've always been evenly matched. They've had an unofficial rivalry, perhaps less so in recent years, but you know, because these two teams play so similarly, they sort of leaned into it, and for a couple years they were definitely little bit of kind of a sibling rivalry almost. Both teams being part of the some of the legacy teams in the original leagues before the FBA was founded.
Big foul from behind, and yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of fluctuation for both teams in terms of their talent level. I mean, even when one team seems to be struggling for the year, they've always put up great effort against each other. I think Huntsville's still looking for their 10th ring, if I'm correct.
That sounds about right.
I feel like them and Montana are both stuck at 9 at the moment. Whereas Albany obviously more recently winning their second championship back in 2016. I don't want to say they were in a decline since then, but they weren't able to really, like I said, last year was really the closest they came to matching that 2016 kind of talent level, and obviously pushed a great final series against the Winnipeg. And Huntsville, though, up by 6 here, though, and a chance to extend it even further. Quick play to Okayu down low in the post, and she's going to elevate for the dunk. For Albany here, you want to keep this a single-digit game. You do not want to go into the final 12 minutes down by 10 or more. But a big defensive block there. Tried to bait a jump, but just held out and was able to stick the ball up at the last second and tip that. Now, Neo dishing down low. Elliman getting pump faking around, spinning, and able to convert. And there we have it. Albany will have at least this possession, potentially. Could leave enough time for Huntsville to get one off themselves. And they're going to burn the clock. They do not want to give Huntsville an opportunity if they miss to go down the court and put up a basket. Almost lost the ball there. Able to recover and is able to dribble one in. 5 seconds left to go in the quarter. Neo throwing up a 3, not able to convert. With that, we head into the final 12 minutes. Huntsville 88, Albany 80. What do you think, Christopher? What does Albany need to do with these last 12 minutes? What adjustments do they need to make up this gap that they find themselves in?
Stop sucking. No, seriously, like I mentioned before, like that, you have to tighten everything up. We've seen Albany miss some really, really easy shots in the last quarter here, and take that. I know you're under pressure. I know you're down by a couple of points here. Take that half a second to really figure out where the basket is. The fact that Cloverfield missed those 2 shots has certainly contributed to Huntsville's lead, but it's not the only reason why Albany is struggling here.
Yeah, they drop a nice little play. They're going to get Avery wide open in the post. You saw kind of just letting the play develop before dishing it down. Letting the ball... And you talk about the height difference. That is something you also have to consider. You have to get around your own teammates sometimes. And your opponents can use your bigger bodies as a screen in itself. So you saw they're kind of bouncing off of each other, weren't able to keep up with Avery. And quickly, answering with 2 buckets, Jackie now put up 16 points total so far, leading the Albany Alphas from the bench in points. Huntsville needs to answer back themselves. He's going to drive in himself. Pump fakes, no good. And Albany's defense is now clamped down.
Yeah, you mentioned Jackie Lemon here. Jackie is one of those specialists that Albany brings out when they really need someone to rely on, and I think it's definitely showing in this particular game tonight.
Yeah, I have to say Albany has done really well over the years. You know, they tend to find these sixth first specialists that they can just bring in the right situations. That's kind of what I feel like Okayu does for Huntsville now. You know, obviously playing with her brother is a plus, but I think she would like to start. There's just a lot of talent in that position over there in Huntsville. So as long as she's happy playing significant minutes off the bench, like I said, similar situation with Jackie. Jackie has those flashes of starter potential at times.
Well, and I think we'll both see them develop that as this year progresses.
Ball almost lost there on the alley-oop attempt. Huntsville unable to convert. Cece was able to save the ball, but not able to convert the bucket. It's going to be Fitch from beyond the arc for three. Able to convert in transition.
Puts Albany back in striking distance here.
And we have to imagine both teams will be bringing their starters out soon. And Lauren trying to answer back, and she will. She refuses to let Albany have any kind of breathing room.
Of course, the Albos are going to call a timeout here.
I mean, you kind of have to. And 9 minutes and 20 seconds left. This is... People often ask, like, okay, well, you went ahead and set your subs up. Why didn't you just go ahead and call a timeout? And you see that sometimes. You'll see the players literally waiting for 2 minutes plus for a dead ball situation. But your timeouts are so valuable, you almost don't want to waste them just to get your subs in. It's just that question of, okay, is it worth it now? And the answer was yes. You're down by 6. You have to get it in. You can't afford to save that for an extra minute. Watterson able to convert the N1.
Say, as we see Watterson, Kivar not able to put it up, but Watterson coming in and saving the day here with the 3-point play.
Yeah, and he said defense was all around him, and the Big Otter able to get the bucket to convert. And I think I need to see Terry and Akiak need to start hitting a 3 or 2 here, just to kind of cut into this lead. But the risk with the threes are, they're the less likely to make shot, and you miss them, you can easily find yourselves down by 10 if your opponent is staying conservative and you're trying to take the big risk with the 3. Oh, CC. The Swan laying it down. Defense needed to move a little faster in transition. Terry double teamed. Who's open? The defense switches back quickly. No opening for Albany to exploit there. Oh. Double teamed again in the post. Huntsville defense absolutely smothering Albany now.
Taking no prisoners at the moment.
Yeah, you saw that left Terry open though, but the shot clock and having 2 players draped on him, Kivar did not have a lot of opportunity. And we're starting to see Huntsville. That's the adjustment they look like they want to make in this final couple minutes of the game is if they get into the post, they want to call the double team over, even though Cassius able to just able to lay it in. And I can probably say Cassius now without confusing you if I'm talking about Narcissa or Watterson. So that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Narcissa, for retiring. For my own sake. I sat there and said Cassius. I'm like, wait, who am I talking about? Akiak. Delving the play. Kivar. Gets the better of him. Had the step, but not able to convert.
Kivar is looking a little cold in this final quarter here.
Yeah, oh no, he's going to get the blocking. He was trying to draw the charge. You saw he was trying to set his pause, but they're not going to call that if you're any hint of motion still. Or, when you're the bigger fur, you're not going to really get called. That's not. If he was trying that against Okayu, they may have a little leeway. In a battle for the ball, who's going to come up with it? Watterson does. That is what has kept Albany in the game, has been the steals. Watterson, good size mismatch. Just has to bully his way to the post without getting called for the foul. Doesn't even have to jump for the rebound as he gets the second chance opportunity. Poor Snyman, he's just unable to even contest the rebound with a jump while Watterson just stands there and sticks his web paw up to grab it.
You got 300 pounds of otter coming at you. You're just like, well, shit.
Oh, almost blocked there, speaking of. And there's a scoring drought. 2 minutes without his bucket. And, ooh, they're going to call blocking again on CC. Both teams trying to draw some charges. We saw one earlier, but they're not calling them here. Pratt. Trying to exploit the shift and not able to get the three to fall there. Buckner. Been a bit quiet here tonight. Over to CC, down to Okayu in the post. Shot clock starting to become a problem. Lauren's going to call for the screen. Try and switch off, but she's got the dog after her. She's still able to make the basket over O'Toole, though. 28 points so far tonight for her. Terry. Over to Kivar. Kivar's going to have to get some play going, though. Down the Pratt in the post, off the glass, around the rim, and it does fall. Staying within one.
Going to come out.
It had every opportunity. I mean, I don't think there's a part of the rim it did not touch there. Kai versus Watterson. And Watterson comes out on top with the block.
Big block there.
And Akiak inside the three-point line, no good. Remember, Huntsville had a massive scoring drought. And oh, Actapaw, rookie, intercepting the pass there. A great turnover as they needed it. Down by one here. Got to take the three himself and no good. And that's a little bit of adrenaline, I think, going. It wasn't the smartest shot he could take there, but after the steal was probably feeling a bit of adrenaline, and it's going to be Terry answering with another steal. They are not letting Huntsville even put up a shot here.
There we go. That's how we do it. We go up, go to the post at this point. Albany is not hitting their threes this evening.
Yeah, they had some earlier in the game, but it's been a struggle since in the second half. And Huntsville retaking the lead. Another lead change here. 3 minutes and some change left to go. This is the kind of the point you want to see someone build a lead. Give a little leeway, and it's going to be the rookie driving to the paint, and good. The Kangaroo Rat elevating over the defense.
There you go. Lead changes 11.
Yeah. Over to Snyman. Alley-oop attempt, but it's tipped. But no, Lauren keeping a heads-up eye on the ball. Gets the tip pass and able to convert. And the Mares have had a slight advantage in field goal percentage here tonight. Watterson not able to convert. Had a little bit of a messy exchange with the ball. Just tried to force it. Not able to get the bucket to fall. It's going to be Snyman trying to do it on the other end. All by himself. Trying to get some call for a contact. Trying to get the refs to call it. But no good. He made it either way. 3-point lead now. Rookie versus Fash. Giving it to Watterson. Who are they going to go with? You have to imagine Terry. He likes to live in these situations for three. Off the front of the iron, a little soft.
Well, I know what Albany has been working on tomorrow in practice. Working on those threes, working on those free throws.
Yes, and another three, and 6-point lead here built now. Huntsville fans are on their feet. They're cheering. This would be a time Albany would want to call maybe timeout. They can't afford to let an 8-point lead develop this late in the game. Terry from beyond the arc is able to convert one. Wishes he had done that on the last possession, but keeps them within 3 now. Buckner contested, not able to convert. 90 seconds left to go. Terry giving it over to Pratt. Back to Watterson, the post. He's double teamed. Oh, no, the defense decides to back off. They saw how open he was, but he gets around, laying it up and in, down by 1. Watterson double here tonight. Warren, she's been the hot paw for Huntsville in the second half, and she's going to dish it to Cece, who gets left wide open. The defense was so focused on shutting down Lauren, the Swan was able to get a good look at the basket. Albany has to get a stop going. First thing to make it, though, Terry not able to convert in the post. 60 seconds left to go, down by 3. Keep an eye on Snyman for beyond the arc. No good, was wide open. Down to Pratt from beyond the arc. Is good, game tied. Pratt's been hitting it from the left side, but now he gets it from the right. 110 to 110 with 35 seconds left. Huntsville calling timeout.
I thought that that 3-point from Simon was going to be the last nail in the coffin, but he missed.
Yeah, Snyman, not the most accurate from beyond the arc, but I think that play was really meant for Fash to be in that position, but she was the one who had the ball, so Snyman was the next best option. And you're right, I feel like if that 3 had been hit, it would have been over for Albany. And 35 seconds left, though. Huntsville, they need to draw up a play here. They have to hit this. Albany's guaranteed a possession. If anything, they could have taken a quick shot and guaranteed them a second one, but no. Lauren, fighting, not able to convert it. Kivar, the shot clock, game clock are not turned off. There is a slight difference. But Albany will have the last full-time possession. They could burn it down to less than a second. They could also just admit and go to overtime if they just throw up a buzzer beater.
Absolutely dangerous for Albany here to be doing.
Oh, a foul! He missed, but sent to the line for 2. It doesn't matter, though, with 1.6 seconds left. Jackie, good for the first. Huntsville's going to call timeout no matter what, as long as they get the rebound, and they're going to have the ball brought up to half court. But the fact Jackie was able to hit both of them means Huntsville now has a choice to make. Do you go for the high percentage 2 play on an inbound, or do you take a 3 to win?
That's always the question, isn't it?
I mean, Lauren, I feel like that's what you bring in Rutherfield, Lauren, and Okayu, and maybe put CC and Big Brother Okayu down low in the post. Make them guess. Are you going to throw it down low, or are you going to keep it on the perimeter? But you have to imagine it's going to be in Lauren's paws here. And they do give it to Lauren from beyond the arc. No good. Albany survives by 2. A game that seemed like it was slipping out of their paws. Able to clutch it out in the end. We run through the stats. You see Lauren, the main contributor, 33 points. Really took over in the second half.
Absolutely.
But and that's where Huntsville's a bit scary. You look at their bench players. I mean, most of them had put up at least 8 points. I mean, even players who only played a few minutes, like 12 minutes from Rashid, 6 points, 6 rebounds. Akizi, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. Osgood, the rookie, fairly quiet in his 8 minutes. And you look at Albany, I mean, it was Akiak. His shooting was a little hit or miss. He shot 50% from the field, but the rest of the team was also struggling at times. I mean, Terry only 4 for 10. He was basically only hitting threes as he hit 3 out of his 5 attempts. Kivar, 6 points, 6 points, 6 field goals, 12 points total. Watterson, the double-double, very consistent, and he had 3 big blocks and 2 steals, doing a bit of everything all over the board. And then Jackie Lemon, her coming off the bench, big contributor, 7 for 9, hitting those 2 clutch free throws. The fact that she had the ball driving to the basket there and was able to draw contact with the game tied with 1.6 seconds left to go. She absolutely sealed the win for Albany here tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. You really can't discount how important these bench players are on both teams. Especially when a game is this close. Any little bit certainly helps.
And we see it literally was a back and forth affair. Huntsville, then Albany had a run, then Huntsville had their run, then Albany had their run. And I mean, both teams finished fairly even in terms of field goal percentage, steals. Really were the way in which Albany won 8 steals in the end, and they scored 13 points off those turnovers. So that's the saving grace, I'll say, for Albany here tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. Although I honestly not entirely impressed with how either team played tonight. You think of both these teams sort of as having a little bit more of a like a classical approach to basketball, and it's clear that both teams need to be working on their fundamentals a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is that Albany made, I think, the better adjustments after the first quarter. We saw Huntsville with a lot of offensive rebounds in that first quarter, and as you saw, they only finished with 7. I believe they had 4 of them in the first quarter. So Albany really was able to diagnose that problem and make that adjustment they needed to. I think Huntsville, they tried to stick with their game plan a little too long, and it looked like it was working for a little while. I mean, they obviously had a 6-point lead there with 2 minutes left to go. It's just Albany is so dangerous with that explosiveness. They can shut you out immediately. And I think Huntsville's going to continue to get better. Obviously, Neo trying to gel with this new lineup and become a bit of a leader, and leading the plays will give more opportunities for Lauren to play off the ball. They need to get to that point where they feel that is their game plan going forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you're looking at some of these other, like, these newer players too, for instance, Kincaid had a good game. Decent pickup from Huntsville this year as I think 14th overall pick. We saw Akizi make a couple of different good plays, even as a rookie here as well. This is definitely a team to be watching. They've already got the depth and the veteran skills, and now they're kind of bringing up the rest of the team by the bootlaces, as it were, or the sneaker laces, if you will. And I think in a year or two, Huntsville is definitely going to be a contender for the championship.
Yeah, I think you meant Osgood. Osgood was their rookie center they picked up this year. Akizi has been around for a while. He was this is his 4th team, in fact, dating back all the way. Actually, I take that back. He went to the Whips, then Firestorm, then back to the Whips.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Much love to the big giraffe. So what are your final thoughts about the game? How do you think this is going to be indicative of both teams going forward in terms of their upcoming seasons?
I mean, I think Albany showed great grit here tonight. The fact that they were able to come back down how they were and able to keep the game close. I mean, up until besides when they fell behind the first quarter, and then right there at the end of the fourth, they really were a back and forth game the entire time. My
Oh,
question,
absolutely.
my question going forward, is that Narcissa-sized hole, and I think Akiak can start to fill that hole as we saw tonight. Great play coming out from the Husky. It's just a question of, is that going to be an every night kind of production that they can count on from him?
I think what Albany really needs to do is they're looking at Hood, and Jonah has been a decent player. It was a good pickup for them last year. I think what they really need to do is let um maybe trade Jonah out and find someone who can really gel with Akiak. You want two players in the PGSG slots that can really kind of tag team um the squad. And I think Akiak has the history of Albany, and it has the sort of tactical um know-how of how Albany's play style works, but you really need someone who's going to be a little more enthusiastic about rallying the troops, and someone that people can really get behind as a field general. I don't see, as excitable as Akiak is, I don't see him fulfilling that role here in Albany.
Yeah, and Yona was a great pickup back when it was a Narcissa Terry. Yona is a very good distributor of the ball, as we saw with Hawaii, when he does not have to be the first, second, or third option.
Exactly.
And right now, with the loss of Narcissa, Yona kind of had to become one of those options, and that's where his game starts to fall apart a little bit. And Akiak isn't as dominant as he needs. He's not as scary as Narcissa yet to force the defense
Right.
to leave Yona more open. So right now, it's like, okay, well, Cassius and Terry are the two scorers, and then sometimes Akiak. And Yona just gets shut down in those situations. And then we see Albany here tonight trying to bring in the rookie to see if maybe he can gel with Akiak, letting him run point. And that's going to be the question long term. Is that the solution they're going to go with? Or, as you're alluding to, maybe they need to bring in a point guard either in the free agency or maybe trade away, uh, maybe for a draft pick and try and pick up someone in the draft.
Yeah, they really just need someone to be able to make those split decisions, and right now there's no one taking that lead. Narcissa was great. She wasn't um she wasn't necessarily in that field general position, but she sort of took on that role as just being enthusiastic, and um her personality really sort of carried that that through to the team. um she if I recall, she was playing more shooting guard than point guard, but where they really didn't need someone making those decisions in point guard last year.
Yeah, and again, looking at Huntsville on the other side of the ball, uh, obviously Neo developing, they're going to get scarier as he gets more comfortable in this lineup. And you have to consider how much talent they got on the bench. I'd argue Huntsville's bench might be one of the more talented in the league right now. With I don't want to say the surprise of Rutterfield. Rutterfield has been very good coming off the bench. It's been a great pickup from last year, and he's been performing well in this second year in the league. And obviously, you have Hermione coming off the bench, and as he brought in, they picked up Maria Kincaid in the draft, 14th overall. Huntsville, once their starting lineup clicks into place, is going to be very dangerous, and they already are dangerous, as we see they're one of the top teams in the league so far this year.
Yeah, well, if and this is the advantage to maybe having a very strong second string, is that um when your starters are tired, you've almost got a second set of starters to replace them, and that makes for some very dangerous basketball.
It does. I mean, like I said, they can substitute someone in when someone's not having a good night, and they can just take over. Any final thoughts, Christopher, before we head out for the night?
I haven't seen a game this exciting in the FBA for a while. Um, and this was an absolute pleasure. I think both of these teams are definitely uh, teams to watch out for as the season progresses. I think we're gonna see both of them sort of rise to the top of the standings if they both keep playing like this.
I'd agree. I mean, Albany kind of fighting at that 500 point in the season so far, but we've seen in the past that's usually what you need to make the playoffs. So they could be a bit of a dark horse run this year. And I think Huntsville, if everything stays on track and they continue to find their groove, could be a very dangerous contender. Maybe not the number one seed, but could definitely be a top four seed and make a serious run at the title. Once again,
Absolutely.
thank you everyone for tuning in. I've been Ryan Eastman. That was Christopher Whalen. And I hope all of you have a lovely night.